What is up, Rebel losers and Mars colonists? I am just a simple new type, and in this episode, we are concluding our coverage of Mobile Suit Gundam Wing Frozen Teardrop, Volume 3. Last time, Milliardo Peacecraft was killed, but Zex still lives. A young boy who now goes by the name of Troa Phobos is trained by Miss Quaterine. Quaterine Winter stole Prometheus Gundam and Troa went after her. They were met with Warlock and Snow White Gundam. This time, we learn about Quaterine's past and her relationship with Iria. We learn a morbid fact about the women of the Winter family, and we conclude the battle between Quaterine versus Hiro and Duo Jr. So let's get into this. This half of the book starts with a quote from Scheherazade from 1001 Nights. MC 0022, next winter. Quaterine's father is Zaid Tabla Winter, who died in AC 195 as we saw in the series. Her middle name is Ode, named after an instrument, just like Katra and Zaid, whose middle names are Rabara and Tabla. That's something new that I didn't know. Her mother, Zaid's wife, is also named Quaterine. We learn that she is a test tube baby. Test tube baby. She asks Katra if he has ever been glad that he were born. He says he would only know the answer when he is about to die, meaning he hasn't found happiness just yet. He goes on to describe survivorship guilt to Quaterine. This is a common problem with soldiers who live when their comrades die. He reflects on taking his parents' lives. Katra blames his father's sacrifice on himself, and his mother died giving birth to him. He has always been the one to take the peaceful option if necessary. Katra's philosophy is make the compromise, lament in the inconveniences, find satisfaction in the compromises, and move on. Some of you should follow Katra's philosophy. He reminds us all why total pacifism isn't possible. Katra is paying for the consequences of the past in a time of peace. He takes it in strides. MC 0015 to 0019. Quaterine was raised by Dr. Iria, Katra's sister. She treated her more or less as her mother. She later learns that she is also a test tube baby as well. We learn that there are more cloned winners. Iria runs the Winter Hospital. Late at night, Iria used to play the violin for her. She one day tells her about Katra. He has never been loved before. So dramatic. He says that he is unique. I need the kanji on this one because I don't know what unique refers to in this situation. Because of how dramatic this is, I am going to assume general celibacy and not implying any type of homosexuality or asexuality. All of these guys are like monks pretty much. I mean, one of them's a priest. She wants Quaterine to carry on the Winter name. She plays Irene's violin and reads stories from 1001 Nights. They also play a game called Image Trace, which syncs brainwaves with memories from the past. She uses it to watch old memories of Irene playing the violin. A couple of times a year, Uncle Rashid visits. This is Rashid Kurama, leader of the Magwanac Corps. His beard is now white. She believes that the two may be in love. She asks him why don't they get married and wonders if it is because she is a test tube baby. Test tube baby. He in fact already has a wife and tells her that people walk different paths. But Quaterine thinks that everyone should speak from the heart. She doesn't really understand love at this age, but has an appreciation for the universe. While at the Winter Hospital, there are two patients that Quaterine talks to. One of these people is Marlene Darlian, Relina's mother. She seems to have Alzheimer's and refers to Quaterine as Relina. The other person was a young girl named Stella. She struggles with congenital lung and heart issues. Over time, she built a wall and became distant, but then the two mended their friendship. Quaterine mentions that she thinks that she may have 29 older sisters and one brother. Stella received a lung and heart transplant. In MC 0019, she regained health. She was 5 and Quaterine was only 4. Uncle Rashid came to visit once again and gave her a pair of Magwanac Corps goggles as a gift. This gave her more confidence. MC 0022, next winter. We return to the present, to Quaterine's point of view. Snow White's beam saber is drawn. It takes out her hover skiff. Luckily, it didn't damage Prometheus, which means they are after the Gundam. The goggles shield her eyes from the dust. A sandstorm begins. She tries to get in contact with Rashid. This isn't Rashid the human. She gets into the lead unit of the Magwanac Mobile Doll, which is based off of the Magwanac Rashid Kurama custom. She gets in and begins controlling the squad of mobile dolls. She sends 7 of the Rashid mobile dolls towards Snow White. The XXXG 00YSW Wing Gundam Snow White Prelude is the predecessor to Wing Gundam Zero and follows the same design concepts. However, the red and blue colors found in the protagonist's Gundam have been removed to give it that white angelic look. The Seraphim Binders are the wing-like units which have two modes. Rondo mode, which is a defensive mode, and Anthem mode, which works in tandem with the Zweig units. It still retains the Neo Bird mode and the Zero system. Weapons include the same twin buster rifle used on Wing Gundam Zero, the new Zwirg, which is an upgraded version of the Messer Swirg, a shield, a machine cannon, and a beam saber. She needs to keep her distance from Warlock as it resembles Death Scythe from the records, and she doesn't want to get in melee range. There isn't really any data on Gundam Warlock, but this clearly resembles Death Scythe in design. It probably just adds extra armaments and adds an improved scythe. While fighting, she thinks of music that plays to the beat of the battle. Warlock takes on 40 mobile dolls, while Snow White rushes towards 7 Rashids. Because of the music, her movement patterns are insane. This throws off the Warlock pilot, Duo Maxwell. Hiro and Snow White has no trouble taking down the mobile dolls. He tries to stop Quaterine, but she is determined to take Prometheus for herself. While Hiro is occupied, Quaterine sets her sight on Troa Phobos. MC0020, next autumn. Stella and Quaterine were in the same class at St. Minerva Academy. One day, during gym class, Stella collapsed and immediately was rushed to Iria, but they sent her off to the central hospital in the city. Iria mentions that her sister, who is also a clone, was in an accident and is a vegetable. Apparently, Stella was supposed to be the clone used for harvesting, but considering the situation, looks like things are going to be reversed. We find out that the rich in this universe create dozens of clones based off of their DNA. This is for harvesting purposes if it is needed for the host. They are still treated like a daughter or son, but it is still clear their life's purpose is to serve the host. She returns to school a few months later. She stopped going to the winter hospital, and the two became distant once again. Stella soon became friends with others in the school, and treated Quaterine like an outcast for being a clone, which is ironic. Then an attack happened at the port. An anti-Federation group attacked with Mars suits. The kids were locked down at school, but then the school was attacked. Many are injured and killed. Quaterine finds her missing goggles. A dead girl had them, which means they were stolen by one of the catty girls. They're too young to be called catty bitches, I'll be nice. There is one downed Mars suit in front of her. She opens the cockpit to find a Federation pilot panicking. She wants to take over, but the biometrics are matched to the pilot. Quaterine says, "I'm a main character in a Gundam Wing franchise. I don't need your help." She hacks it, deletes the database, and adds Catra's biometrics from the hospital records. She goes into action with her goggles on and is able to take down all of the Mars suits. Suddenly scared, she decides to run away towards Iria. When she returns to her, she is met with a silver-haired man. It is Catra. He is amazed with her skills with the Mars suit, but is afraid that she will rely on it too much. She asks if he is living in a way that's true to himself. He says that he will spend his life searching for that answer. He and Dr. T want to take her under their wing. Iria gives Quaterine her violin to take with her. The two bid each other farewell. MC0022 next winter. Quaterine goes after Troa Phobos. She is losing many mobile dolls and fast. She is using the Mirror Trace program that she used as a game. This program allows her to mimic her enemy's moves. She splits the two mobile suits up because she doesn't want the two to learn the subtle nuances of one another, even though it puts her at a tactical disadvantage. While Warlock and Snow White were distracted, Troa was able to come in and disable her machine. They try to get her cockpit open. MC0022, first spring. Quaterine gets a call from Iria asking her to visit. At the Winter Hospital, Iria wants her to help Marlene find Relina Darlian. She wonders if the one running for president of the Martian Federation is the same Relina. She promised to take off her mask if she won. She took Marlene to Relina City for her inauguration. As her car passed by, she jumped out of the car instantly and recognized her mother. Mother and daughter were finally reunited. Quaterine was invited to the presidential residence. There, she met Relina's nephews, Naina and Millie Peacecraft. Their family and the winners seem to not be on good terms, but we aren't explicitly told why. Naina argues for total pacifism while Millie takes a more direct approach. No matter the approach, they need some form of black ops to get this dirty work done. America in the real world has the CIA, the Earth Sphere has the Preventers, so they need something similar. But she believes that if a select few is doing the dirty work, then they are taking on the brunt of humanity's pain, and society hasn't achieved peace. Millie takes off Quaterine's glasses and says her eyes are more beautiful than Earth. Oh my, a night full of political philosophy and compliments? And they say chivalry isn't dead. He then puts a violin in her hands. Millie pulls out a flute and says, check it out. Pretty cool, huh? He gets her to jam out with him. She begins playing a bit of Scheherazade mixed with gypsy scales. Millie then joins in. She felt lightly fatigued, but everyone cheered her on, including Millie. She says that this duet is the greatest performance of her life and wished this night would never end. MC 0022, next winner. Back at the battle, Quaterine had one final move to play, or as she puts it, she has to play the final movement of the War Sonata. Choa tells her to raise her hands as he opens the hatch. The watch on her wrist is monitoring her pulse. She puts herself into a panic attack. This triggers the self-destruct sequence on the Rashid Magwanak. Oh snap, first attempted suicide of the story. Gundam Wing is back, baby. Katara tells Troa, your hat looks stupid. And then she kisses him, causing confusion. In this moment of confusion, Millie and Naina come in to save her and Prometheus Gundam. Hiro says his plan was too naive. As they fly away, she apologizes to the winners as she made the decision to leave them behind. But more importantly, she apologizes to Millie as she wanted him to be the first person she kissed. And that will conclude Mobile Suit Gundam Wing, Frozen Teardrop Volume 3. We are starting to see some of the cracks in the seams that is the Gundam Wing universe. Quaterine in Gundam Wing was so saddened by Troa's involvement in war, but here she is like a drill instructor. Many of the main cast outside of Hiro are burdened with their past, but they seem to have no problem allowing their children to make the same mistakes. Also, Millie and Naina's conversation about total pacifism is literally the same thing we saw in Wing. We've been through this and solved this problem already, but here we are waxing philosophical about a solved problem. Next time we begin Frozen Teardrop Volume 4. We will focus our attention back on the lives of Father Maxwell and Maxwell Jr. Wufei pilots Epion Bai. Of course, he names it Nataku. We also see Virgo 4 mobile dolls in action. But that will do it for this episode, losers. Remember, always practice your fingering. You don't want your flute skills to get rusty. Peace.